to invest in people's lives, doesn't it? Because you've worked 40 to 60 hours during the week. On top of that, your spouse needs time from you if you're married, or your roommates if you're single, maybe if you have roommates, your best friends, your children. Everybody needs time, don't they? And yet, there's still a lost world. There's still people that need to hear Jesus. It takes a lot of energy to overcome our selfishness, doesn't it? I think about depression, and I'm not talking about the chemical imbalance kind where people can't do anything about that. But I'm talking about depression because we're focused on ourselves a lot and what we don't have, and not on counting our blessings and having a spirit of gratitude. You got to appreciate Dale bringing that home. You know, I appreciate Dale. I admire that brother. I was thinking in my head, man, that guy's probably the dad of the year. I love watching him with the kids. He's so good at doing teaching the kids and the children. Me and my wife will always comment and go, man, that Dale, he's so good with the kids. I don't even know if we ever told you that, but we admire that about you, Dale. Appreciate you. I think about past hurts. We had leaders treat us badly, and so we don't trust leadership today. I have a hard time trusting leadership. I'm just being honest and open. I don't think that they do anything lately that has been, dishonest. I'm just saying, I came into the church, and I'm not kidding. I hated authority when I came in. I remember as a young campus student, my first service, this is crazy. They were preaching about authority. Jeff Watstrom, I don't know if you know him, but Jeff Watstrom was preaching about authority. So I came to church, and, I'm standing in the back, and, I'm distrustful. And he came up, so he was preaching about authority. He goes, so what'd you think about the message? And I thought, oh yeah, I liked it. I didn't like it. I lied to him. I didn't want to hear about authority. I was a young teenage kid. It caught me off guard. I shouldn't be so quick on my feet, huh? But I lied really quick. And, but I had to deal with that. And over the years, I still have that part of me. That's still part of my flesh. It doesn't have anything to do with the people that are leading. It's just me and my flesh. So I got to overcome that. Past hurts or just distrust. Doug is a trustworthy dude. He loves God. He loves people. And no minister is ever going to be perfect. I've had to learn to trust. I think about the Kazis. I don't even know them, but I got to trust them. I got to learn to trust people. I've had to learn to trust people at my work, people that are way up in leadership, that seem like they're big, bad, and evil because I just don't know them. And that's silly, but I'm just saying these are crazy things that happen in my mind. Y'all got crazy thoughts too. Just admit it. Just being real and honest, You think about incorrect priorities. Building our houses without prioritizing building God's house first. The prophetic words of Haggai and Jesus taught us that we need to be focused on God and His kingdom first before we build our own houses. Because if you think about this, and this is such a paradox, and that's why I love the Bible, because you think but then God gives you something that changes everything. But He wants you to build His house first. Build your walk with Him first. Because then you'll do your marriage right. Then you'll be a good dad because you're doing it the way God said to do it. Make sure that you get your financial affairs in order, but do it God's way so it'll really be right, not based on the financial institutions because they're just going to get you to spend your money in the wrong places. Because they don't have God's heart. Their purpose for your money is something different. I had to throw something in there, guys. Come on. I can't help it. We got to do Financial Peace again soon. But we can have incorrect priorities. There is no shortage of things to get our hearts and minds occupied with. Nehemiah had to stay focused on the goal of rebuilding the wall and finishing it. He was no doubt tempted to stop, run, fear, and give in to the failure to save his own skin. And I don't know, I can't remember if he was married and had children. Maybe he was single, but I'm sure he had somebody that he loved in his life. He was a very spiritual dude. He deeply cared about God's people, God's kingdom. He was brokenhearted when he had heard that the walls of Jerusalem were broken down. And this guy was talented. He was cupbearer to the king of the world. And he was concerned about the walls being broken down. Look at Nehemiah chapter 6, verse 10. One day I went to the house of Shemaiah, son of Delaiah, the son of Mehetabel, who was shut in at his home. He said, let us meet in the house of God, inside the temple, and let us close the doors because men are coming to kill you. By night, they are coming to kill you. sometimes we just have to be all right with disagreeing with one another and staying focused. And staying focused on rebuilding. The body of Jesus is constantly facing opposition. There is always something that is going to try to tear down the church walls. Always. You will have friends that leave, and this will hurt you. But you got to keep on going to the end, don't you? James chapter 1:4 teaches us that perseverance must finish its work so that you can become mature, not lacking anything. Galatians 6:9 tells us, let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Look in verse 11. But I said, should a man like me run away? Or should someone like me go into the temple to save his life? I will not go. I realized that God had not sent him, that he had prophesied against me because Tobiah and Sanballat had hired him. He had been hired to intimidate me so that I would commit a sin by doing this, and they would give me a bad name to discredit me. Remember Tobiah and Sanballat, my God, because of what they have done. Remember also the prophet Noadiah and how she and the rest of the prophets have been trying to intimidate me. So the wall was completed on the 25th of Elul in 52 days. This guy faced some opposition. It took 52 days for the massive undertaking of this project to be completed. Nehemiah, by faith, love, conviction, courage, and most importantly, God's help, rebuilt the walls of Jerusalem. If you keep going and persevere, you will reap a harvest of righteousness. That's a promise, guys. The most important wall that needs to be constantly built or repaired is our relationship with God. Because don't we have ups and downs in that walk? Sometimes you go on, you're faithful, you're able to get up at 4 or 5 or whatever, oh dark 100 that you have to get up at and spend that time with God. We must focus on that. We got to focus on praying, reading, and you got to get times alone with God. Don't just do it on the fly. Don't have it when you're thinking about trying to be safe and thinking about 10,000 different things that are on your heart that's burdened and you're trying to drive. I'm telling you, it doesn't work the way you'd hope it worked. When you get some time to just stop and pray and get alone and you let go and let God, it changes everything. Get inspiration in your times by making them special. I'm telling you, I was so inspired last night to be able to spend that time, and it made me think about my little daughters. And I think about, like Jasmine, is so funny, my 3-year-old. She kept coming up to me before I left the house, and she kept, hugging me and, kissing my leg. And, and it just, I guess her heart was just filled up with affection for me. And she kept doing that. And it was so cute. And that stuff warms your heart. If you have children, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The other thing that we love, too, when you think about, and I know this sounds crazy making this connection, but if you have a dog is fired up about you no matter how bad you smell, no matter how ugly you are, no matter anything, how short, how tall, how whatever. And I'm like, your children are the same way. Even God said, if you don't become like one of these, you're not going to make it to heaven. That purity of heart, that sense of excitement to be with God. And it made me think about that last night as I was praying in the dark, afraid for my life. About how God wants us to be that way, to love Him that way, just to get time with Him. Sometimes we forget that our families are also part of building God's church. Investing time, quantity, and quality in our marriages and relationships with our children will make all the difference in their lives later. And I think I've said this before, this is an interesting thing. Sometimes dads, fathers, spiritual men, even if you're not a father or dad, you are in some way a spiritual leader or father in the church. I read a book by this lady named Meg Meeker, and the title of the book was Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters. And one of the things she had talked about is the need for men to be strong for their daughters. And a lot of times when you watch the media, they always make men seem like they're buffoons to me. There's always some joke that some guy's an idiot. You think about Homer Simpson. And, we do have some of those things. But I'm not saying that's all bad. But I am saying that most of our society looks at men as like we're incompetent. We're obtuse emotionally because we're not created like women, right? And make it seem like there's something wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with you as a man, because in a minute's notice, if you got to go to war to protect your family, you get up and do it. And I thought about, how important that my relationship is with my kids. And so there are a lot of things in life that I have to say no to so that I can spend time with my wife and my kids. But we still can't take our hand off the gospel plow, can we? I think about there's some amazing spiritual men in the Bible that, although they did some amazing things in God's kingdom, somehow their children still didn't make it. I think about Eli and Samuel in the book of Samuel. Their children, they didn't somehow pass that love and excitement about God on to their kids. And their kids didn't make it. And we know the story of Eli, if you remember him. Both his kids, they were sleeping with the teenagers at the house at the tent of meeting. I mean, it was just some nasty stuff that was going on. And Eli failed to restrain his kids. And eventually, Eli got his neck broken. God doesn't mess around. And Samuel, he was a great man of God. And I'm sure he probably tried to restrain his kids. We don't know why they didn't happen. All I'm saying is we've got to be sober that even a great man in God's church, in God's kingdom, in the history of the Bible, failed somehow with his family. And so we need to be extra vigilant in the world today, because there's so many things grabbing at your children's attention. So many things. It's one of my biggest fears. I don't want to save the world and then lose my family for lack of care and focus because I'm spending too much time at work with friends or serving God in the wrong priority. It's easy to be busy at work but do the wrong things. Many of us have colleagues that seem to work hard but get nothing done. You ever have a coworker like that? They're busy all day at work. They're walking around, doing their thing. And what are they doing? Nothing. Oh, I'm so busy. I'm so stressed out. They can't get nothing done. You know what I'm talking about. I've seen them. We've been those people sometimes, probably. Learning to prioritize can be really challenging, right? When you got a lot of stuff flying at you in life, everybody's got ADD now. We can't focus on anything. Nothing. Gosh. Anyway, learning to prioritize can be really challenging. And you have to learn how to say no. To as many things that you say yes to, you've got to learn how to say no to